Ladies and gentlemen,
Back again, back again, back again, back again, back again, back again.
Ladies and gentlemen,
back again, back again.
Guess who it is?
Back again, back again, back again.
I am back.
Back again, back again.
The show is back.
Back again. Brothers, sisters, everybody say,
Everybody say it with me. Ruff Talk. Ruff Talk.
Got a question for you, better answer down.
I got a question.
Answer down.
Just got one question.
Answer down. Answer down.
Say that.
Am I original? Yeah. Am I the only one? Yeah. Am I sexual?
Maybe not that part.
Am I everything you need? You better
Sing it, Charlie.
rock your body now. Everybody. Yeah. Rock your body. Yeah. Everybody. Rock your body right. Easy's back. All right.
Ruff Talk is back tonight. Well, it feels very good to be back. I am your host, Kelvin Ruffin Jr. Don't forget the Junior. And it's just me here today. I am not here with my brother Larry the Wavy Fellow. I am not here with Mr. Infocus himself. I have brought back the show. I don't even know what episode it is by now, but I'm just going to say episode 10. Yeah, I'm going to say this is episode 10. Welcome back to the RuffTalk Sports Podcast. I am your host, Kelvin Ruffin Jr. Don't forget the Junior. They say talk is cheap, but here we try to keep it rough. So I guess pause on that, maybe. I don't know. But whatever. If you have heard this rendition of the podcast in the past, I'm continuing it. It's not a totally different branch off. This is a continuation from when y'all heard me talk about the Colin Kaepernick issue, when y'all heard me talk about the, Antonio Brown with CTE, Myles Garrett hitting dude in the head with the helmet. Yeah, this is a continuation of that. I know it's been a very long time. My apologies for that. It has been a very long time, but I am doing what is right. So I'm not gonna hold up too long with an intro. I just want to say thank you to everyone who listened back then. Thank you to everyone who is listening now. I appreciate all of you guys. There have been plenty of people who have been waiting to hear me absolutely nerd out when it comes to these sports. And of course I had to come back during this time period because the Hall of Fame game just happened. We smack dab in the middle of the Olympics, as well as basketball season is sneakily around the corner too. If you think about it, whenever football season starts, basketball season is not too far behind. The WNBA has been this is the best year ever for the WNBA, especially since the arrival of Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. Asia Wilson is still dominating the way that she did last year. She looks like she's finna win MVP this year. All of these things happening have been NCAA being able to release a video game again. Deion Sanders being at Colorado, his son Shador being a quarterback at a D1 school after transferring from HBCU to be the clear-cut and obvious choice for a number one, the first string quarterback in a Power 5 conference at a D1 school from HBCU. Man, when I tell you that's different, it's different, and it really is different. Sorry for any noises. It's early in the morning, so they doing, work around here. I'm trying to get this knocked out early as possible. So my apologies for any background noise y'all may hear. I done cut the fan off. The AC not working right now. They got to come fix that today. Whatever. All those things aside. What do I want to start with today? What I'll start with today is the last pod on the main pod of What's the Name? Shout out to them once again. On the main pod, Noah Lyles was running a 100 meter. In the heat, he came in second. And I said, hey, you the reason why the Avengers assembled, so you need to You better hold true to your word and get this gold, because you are the reason why the Avengers assembled over to play basketball, because you was hating on the world champion title over there. So you better at least win gold here. That he did. I know it was some pseudo controversy about whether he actually finished first, because you've seen some people's feet cross the finish line before any part of his body touched the finish line. But from what I understand, it's your torso crossing the finish line, not just your feet. And his head and torso got across the finish line before anybody else by 5,000ths of a second. So round of applause for Noah Lyles. Congratulations, Team USA. Another gold medal. Noah Lyles, a gold medal winner. And I think that's not even his first gold. So congratulations to you, and shout out to you for keeping your word, for at least you getting your gold medal first before anybody even, plays any games in the medal round over at Team USA, because you are the reason why LeBron, Steph Curry, Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum, and Bam Adebayo, all of those guys are all on Team USA. So shout out to you and congratulations to you. Simone Biles, I think she got silver in her routine, but she got gold on. She got gold on the vault. So Simone Biles, GOAT gymnast. Noah Lyles is trying to go for GOAT American track and field athlete. I'm not too sure how far he is off of that. I'm not gonna stay too long in the Olympics because I don't care that much about everything that's on the Olympics. But the NBA season is also going to kick off pretty soon. I think usually around October is when it starts. Whenever they start promoting 2K, that's when the NBA season is about to come back pretty soon. I saw a video of Bronny doing one-on-ones with Jordan Clarkson and Darius Garland, and Bronny looks like a young NBA player. He looks like he belongs, but he looks like he's still learning. And to be 19 years old, competing with the likes of Jordan Clarkson and Darius Garland, says a lot about him. It says a whole lot about him. He's scruffy. He ain't shaved his beard. He ain't cut his hair. He got the big fro. He's locked in. He's locked in, ready to prepare himself for the NBA season, and he's currently doing that. And hopefully he's ready for the NBA season so we can see him get some NBA action early. Even if he goes back down to the G League just to develop a little, he got his guaranteed contract. So hopefully to see him early, I'm hopeful to see him early in the NBA season. I honestly am hopeful to see him early in the NBA season. I don't know what that whistle sound was. And what else? Of course, Paul George going to the Sixers. Everyone's hoping that the Sixers will be a title contender. I'll be the first to burst that bubble. The Sixers, unfortunately, can only go as far as Joel Embiid takes y'all. And being that Joel Embiid has pockets of not being in shape, being that Joel Embiid has pockets of inconsistency when it matters most to the team, and not only that, if Joel Embiid ends up dropping 40, his gravitational pull ends up making other people look more mediocre than they actually are, and people aren't in rhythm for their shots. Like DeAnthony Melton, he was a huge three-point burner. He's gone. Tyrese Maxey was the only hope over these past few years, but it's hard to remain consistent when you got people like James Harden, who left after a while, but was was having also his own gravitational pull at the point guard position when Tyrese Maxey should have been running a one. And Paul George is coming there, and I don't think that's really going to do much but add to that gravitational pull to pull away from the rhythm of the rest of the team. Oddly enough, Tyrese Maxey is being thwarted in a position to actually become the one in a few years. Joel Embiid is going to have a drop-off in the next few years. That's what I'm predicting. He's going to have a drop-off in the next few years, and Tyrese Maxey is going to elevate as a one. What I personally feel they should have done, I know he ended up going to San Antonio, but I do think Chris Paul would have been an amazing fit for the Sixers. You have someone who could be a true one, because I don't think Tyrese Maxey is a true one. I think he's a scoring one, which when you play ball when I did, that's usually a two guard. Allen Iverson was only a one because he was short. He was really a two guard. They let Eric Snow run the point. In this case, I think Chris Paul would have been much better suited to run the point. And with Chris Paul running the point, you have Tyrese Maxey, who's able to make plays, run the floor, run around backdoor screens. You have Joel Embiid using his center of gravity, using his gravitational pull to pull pressure into the lane to create an opening for Tyrese Maxey. Then maybe Tobias Harris doesn't play like complete garbage. Maybe then he doesn't play like complete garbage in the playoffs because because Tobias Harris will actually be able to develop a rhythm with somebody like Chris Paul on the court. And Chris Paul, I know, he gets injured in the playoffs and so on and so forth. But as the identity of a one gets lost in the NBA, we start to not appreciate the contribution that true point guards really give to a team. The value, the point guard is almost like the running back of the NFL now. You always talk about how extinct it's going, but in all actuality, it's not really going extinct. It's just underappreciated because every time you get to a high point, every time you get to a championship or so on and so forth, it's not like football where you got to win one game. You got to win 4 games. So therefore, you are going to need a facilitator of the offense. And if you don't have a great running back, you have some sort of misnomer, which is usually I have a quarterback who can get a first down with his legs. Especially recently, Patrick Mahomes is a 3-time Super Bowl champ. He has not won a Super Bowl with an elite running back yet, but what he can do is go get a first down with his feet if need be. So therefore, the run game puts you in a position to be able to get a championship. You have to be able to facilitate a team on the court. You have to have somebody who is an on-court coach in order to make it anywhere in the playoffs. If you look at all the teams that have won championships as of recently, they have those players. Steph Curry is ironically one of those players, but, oh no, he shoots, he does more. Okay, cool, Draymond Green. Draymond Green is the point guard of the Golden State Warriors. He's a point forward, but he's really the point guard once it gets to a certain point. He's the on-court coach and facilitator. So they didn't really need Chris Paul because they had Draymond. Jokic, who just won the championship. The Celtics, they have Drew Holiday. Maybe everyone wouldn't consider putting Drew Holiday in the on-court coach category, but he won a championship as a point guard. And he is actually a true point guard. I've seen Drew Holiday get 40. Drew Holiday didn't need to get 40 because I can pass the ball, and I can play great defense, and I could create my own shot if need be. Plus, Jason Tatum would be the facilitator. The Lakers, you got LeBron. Everyone knows LeBron is actually the point guard of the Lakers. I don't like the fact that he has to be now, but he still is. They got a championship with Rondo. When Rondo was there, Rondo and LeBron play the same position, but you see the difference when you actually have a point guard. You get what I'm saying? And it translates like that throughout history because point guard and center are the two most underappreciated positions in basketball as of today. The only reason why we appreciate centers is because of how skilled they are all around in basketball. But just being able to do something as simple as dominate with your back to the basket and get a bucket at will. Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, and now Big Vic over in San Antonio, they're all showing you that if I can turn around and put my back to this basket, you are not going to be able to stop me from getting a bucket. It don't matter how you put it. And those players are the most amazing players now because within addition to the other skills that they're learning, they're just dominant and unstoppable figures. So now if you bring back the on-court facilitator along with the center, 2 to 4, they can do what they're supposed to do. A power forward is supposed to be that same presence as a center, but someone with a little softer touch when it comes to being around the paint. The small forward, someone who can play shooting guard and maybe drop down to the 4 if need be, someone who can alternate between those two. The 2 guard he can play 1, but he's not as great of a facilitator because he's more so meant for scoring. The 1 can score and can create their own shot, but his his goal is to create offense for the whole team. The 5, be the dominant force, be the power of the team. When we start to see more balance along that, moves like Paul George going to the Sixers will make more sense if they have that established already. Because all you're doing now is just figuring out who you taking shots from. Paul George is going to shoot 12 times a game, 9 to 12 times a game. He's going to shoot at least 5 to 8 free throws a game. So with that being said, who are you taking shots from? You're taking shots from Tyrese Maxey more than likely. And Joel Embiid is probably the most gifted center we've seen in quite some time. You're going to be taking shots from him too because he's going to be looking for him to pass him the ball. But I'm not going to spend too much time on the Sixers. Let's see. Klay Thompson is on the Mavericks. And the only reason why I said for that because there was a whole ordeal that I made out of saying my father pointed it out to me. And then I listened back and I kept listening back and I kept hearing The counter still exists on here. But the only reason why I'm saying for that is because Klay Thompson has had a very unique fall from grace. His unique fall from grace is we looked at him to actually be a better shooter than Steph. And then 2 major leg injuries later, people are making fun of him for getting scored on at a game, at an open run, in the gym. People saying somebody from somebody at the YMCA gave him 20 and things of that nature. Again, Steph, Klay, and Draymond all came into the league around the same time. These guys aren't the same age that they used to be. They dominated for a very long time, but Klay was still one of the best 3-point shooters in the league last year. His worst year is still one of the best in the NBA. So I don't want to get that misconstrued or get that twisted, especially as a former 3-point shooter myself. When you have a cold spell, don't nothing feel worse than that as a shooter. It don't matter if you went 0 for 3. The fact that you see a 0 right there or you went 1 for 4, the fact that you see a 0 or a 1 right there for a whole 48-minute game, it makes you feel away. It makes you feel down about yourself. It makes you feel bad about it. It don't matter how many shots you put up before or after the game and how many you see go in. It don't do nothing for you. It's nothing like seeing that bucket go in the game. It's nothing like it. So to watch what Klay is going through currently, it's kind of heartbreaking. I'm not going to lie to you. It's kind of heartbreaking because I know what kind of shooter he is. Somebody who could drop 40 points in less than 10 dribbles. That's the type of shooter he is. The same type of shooter that Steph will say, if you want to learn how to shoot at a high click, higher efficiency than what I'm doing, you shouldn't look at what I do. You should look at what Klay does. Because he's been shooting since he was shot out. You feel what I'm saying? Klay has also, but his form, his technique, his routine is so pure. It's so pristine. That is what you would teach in a classroom 100 years from now. If we doing a 3-point class at some university that specializes in sports and athletics. If there's a class for just 3-pointers or a chapter in a book for just 3-pointers, you're going to study Klay. You're going to study Ray Allen. You're going to study, who else would you study? You're going to study Reggie Miller. You know what I mean? Reggie Miller was a little uglier, but guys like that, those are the people that you're going to study. You're going to study Michael Jordan just for shooting form. You're going to study Kobe, carbon copy of Mike. But Ray Allen and Klay Thompson are at the top of that list. You're going to look at Steph as a freak of nature, but you're going to look at Klay as this is how you shoot it. And he's on the Mavericks now with 2 people who shoot the ball a lot. 2 people who can get 35 plus at the same time in the game. I think that's going to take some pressure off of them, but Luka has gravitational pull. Once again, Luka has a huge gravitational pull. The thing about Luka's gravitational pull is he's refusing to pass the ball while he's in his rhythm. So everyone's just going to end up standing around playing one-on-one basketball. And in a sense, I can't say it's much wrong with that, especially in the regular season. There's nothing wrong with that in the regular season, but when you get in the postseason, it starts to get exposed the way that it did, especially in the finals. It wasn't able to be fully exploited in the playoffs because they're big men. Daniel Gafford and I forgot the young man from Duke's name, but Daniel Gafford, Derrick Jones Jr., goodness gracious, it's going to annoy me that I can't remember his name. It's not Favors. It's something. But he's from Duke. He was a rookie and he was from Duke. Those three gentlemen controlling the paint and controlling the boards, making sure that they led in rebounds in every series almost. Those guys and all their buckets were easy. They were getting alley-oop dunks. They were literally getting dunks for 2 to 3 playoff series. Those guys are what made the difference. You're going to add Clay as a shooter, you're not getting the same level of defense that you would have got 6 years ago. You're not getting the same effort to crash the boards as you would have got 6 years ago. You're getting someone who's there to play solid defense, 6.5 to 7 out of 10 defense, and then run the floor on offense, backdoor screens. Even if he's just a decoy, you cannot leave him open. I would hate to really see him go to Dallas and be a decoy. I honestly would. That would add to the depression of looking at that. To other people, Jared Allen agreed to a 3-year extension with Cleveland. I think Cleveland has a great young core. I wasn't ruling out LeBron going back to Cleveland with Donovan Mitchell, with Jared Allen, with Darius Garland, even if he's going to stay. I don't think he's staying. But I wouldn't have ruled out LeBron going back there because I think he would be able to see them winning the championship. They did really well last year, made it to the playoffs, and I think they won in the first round, if I'm not mistaken. Regardless, they have a very solid core, and they have a lot of really good young guys who could push them further. I could see them being on the Indiana type trajectory, in the near future. The Knicks, man, the Knicks just signed Villanova. That I don't really have anything else to say about that. The Knicks signed Villanova. I forgot everyone's name. It was, of course, they got Dante DiVincenzo. Of course, they got Jalen Brunson. They got Mikal Bridges. They kept OG Anunoby. They got Josh Hart still. Villanova and OG Anunoby. I don't know where OG went to school. They're going to have a tough time putting all of that together with Julius Randle because out of all the Villanova boys, 2 of them probably going to have to come off the bench. Yeah, probably Dante DiVincenzo and Josh Hart are going to have to come off the bench. And then they need size. They need a true center, especially being that they lost. Wow, his name just left my brain as I was thinking about it. But they lost their center to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They need that size. They genuinely need that size because they got a team full of guards who can run around, who can shoot, who can play defense. They got a bunch of wing defenders and a couple of people who could kind of run the point and a couple of people who could facilitate. Josh Hart is an underrated facilitator. They're triple-double king while they were in the playoffs. Oh, Hartenstein is his name. Goodness gracious. I think that's his name. That was their size that they had. The tip out rebounds that he had made a huge difference in them making it as far as they did in the playoffs. Russell Westbrook is on Denver, leaving the Clippers and going to Denver. I'm not too mad at the move because he's going to play a veteran role over there, as well as a huge boost of energy off the bench, which is exactly what Denver needed last year. The only problem is they need high energy and shooters off the bench. They lost KCP, if I'm not mistaken. And that was a huge spark for them off the bench. That was a huge spark for them. And if it wasn't KCP, I don't think they lost KCP. Let me double check that really quickly because I don't think they lost KCP if my phone would allow me to check. Yeah, they lost KCP. Unfortunately, they lost KCP. He went to the Orlando Magic, another sneaky good team, another really good sneaky good team, especially when Paolo Banchero finds out how to play the game in his prime. Once he figures out what he wants to do in his prime he's going to be a very dangerous player. But KCP is now over there with another solid core of young guys. He's going to be a veteran presence, somebody who has 2 championships going over there, and he's a shooter. Russell Westbrook, no championships. He's going to a team that won a championship, but he doesn't have any championships. How much are you going to be able to play that veteran presence? Well, we got champions over here. You know what I mean? I don't know how much of that respect he's going to garner, other than respect as being one of the greatest players we've ever seen. One of the greatest point guards we've seen since Oscar Robertson, if not greater than Oscar Robertson. But the problem is you don't have any rings and things to back it up. Shout out to Joy Taylor and Shady McCoy. Ain't got no rings and things to back it up. No bling for anybody to look at. You just have your talent and your MVPs. Or I think he won just one MVP. He should have won multiple MVPs. But you have your talent, your accolades, the most triple doubles. The most triple doubles averaged. The most triple doubles averaged for a whole season. I think he has like 3 or 4 seasons of him averaging a triple double, which was only done one time by one person. Having a triple double for a whole season was only done one time before him, and that was by Oscar Robertson himself. Let's see what else we got. The Kings, they got DeMar DeRozan. I don't know what the Lakers front office is doing. It seems like they're almost self-sabotaging to make sure they don't bring any extra help for LeBron and Anthony Davis that they greatly need. What they really need is shooters. LeBron and Anthony Davis have clearly been 2 of the, if not the best players on Team USA. And if they can be that on Team USA, I know they can be that for the Los Angeles Lakers. I know they can. They need shooters. They need a point guard. I know Rondo's retired. Y'all should have went after Chris Paul. At least Chris Paul would have been healthy and he would have started. I don't like Chris Paul on the Lakers as a fit, but goodness gracious, y'all need a point guard, and Rondo's retired. Or y'all should have never let him go to begin with, because LeBron, Dwight Howard, JaVale McGee, and Rajon Rondo could have all stayed on that team and got 2 more rings. Lakers, y'all are fumbling a lot, and now one of the best young teams in the Western Conference now has DeMar DeRozan. You got to look at De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis, and DeMar DeRozan at the same time on one team. And y'all already had a hard enough time beating De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis with Malik Monk. y'all had enough of a hard time doing that. Goodness gracious. I want to see LeBron win some more. It sucks watching these teams form and watch the Lakers just do nothing. LeBron is 40 years old doing this crap that he's doing now. It's amazing, but it looks like it's going to be all for nothing, unfortunately, because of the Lakers front office. Spencer Dinwiddie left LA and went back to Dallas. I'm not surprised. You went to LA and forgot how to shoot. But with someone with a gravitational pull like LeBron James, I could see why. I could see why you might have lost the jump shot a little bit. I could see it. I know that's not a huge deal, but it just to the point of you need shooters, and I think Dallas is worried about surrounding Luka and Kyrie with shooters because they felt like they weren't getting enough help. I don't think it's just that. I think the problem was Jason Kidd, as an amazing player and as amazing of a coach as he is, he didn't scheme properly for that team, and he looked like he was scared to coach Luka. As one of my favorite point guards ever, he looked like he was scared to coach Luka. Cam Payne went to the Knicks. Cameron Payne, for anybody who may not know, I'm not saying the word campaign. Cam Payne went to the Knicks. Seth Curry went to the Hornets. Taj Gibson is still kicking. He's still kicking, and if you don't remember Taj Gibson, you can go back to the Chicago Bulls days. He was a monster with Derrick Rose and Joakim Noah, Luol Deng, Kirk Heinrich, and those guys. He was a monster back then. one of the more underrated and slept on, and one player that always stuck out to me. He's going to the Hornets. I'm pretty sure just a veteran presence to mentor the young guys. KJ Martin to the Sixers, another solid all-around player, shooter. Of course, the Jalen Brunson contract was a huge deal. The fact that he left over $100 million on the table so that way they can go out and get the rest of the Villanova boys. Shout out to him for doing that. I think where sports is going, I'll talk about it more in football, but I think where sports is going with these contracts, we are going to have to put a realistic cap on how much these stars are making. And it's going to have to start with the owners and the GMs and the president of the league are going to have to start being more forthcoming with the players about what revenue is actually being generated versus what numbers we're trying to put out just to make sure our ratings stay high. Because I don't know if you know, but if I tell you I got 1 million streams on Spotify, it's going to make you want to listen to it more. Not if I say I'm an amazing artist and I have one of the greatest songs you have ever heard. That won't make somebody want to listen as much as, yo, I got 10 million streams on Spotify. Go ahead, check me out. It's unfortunate, but it's true. So, hey, we had the biggest watch championship game in all of sports. Come check us out. Oh, okay, well, we got to go check that. Somebody's going to have to start being honest about the revenue stream. Not streams, but the revenue. And they're going to have to be forthcoming about that to the players as well as, well, yeah, just the players really, because the players are y'all's biggest assets. Y'all could have owners. Y'all could have these courts. Y'all could have gyms. Y'all could have the jerseys. Y'all could have everything y'all want to, but if y'all don't have the players, y'all don't have any assets. And the only way that everyone's going to be able to put a cap on this is to be more forthcoming about that with the players. And maybe the NBA PA is going to have to do more for players after they retire if they're going to be cutting back on the contracts. But if you cut back on the contracts, you can take some of that money and put it toward players' retirement, so on and so forth. I'm going to get into that more with football. Kyle Lowry is back on the Sixers. The Atlanta Hawks are in a bit of a pickle, but they haven't really done much yet. Everyone's expecting Trae Young to be moved at some point in time during this next season. So, you know, yeah, it's going to be a tricky situation over there. Let's see here. Daniel Tice is on the Pelicans. The Pelicans have a very, very, very good roster. And they seem to be a much better ran team than we gave them credit for because of everything that happened with Zion. But Zion getting hurt maybe made the difference between a team that made the playoffs and the team that would have been in the Western Conference Finals, if I got to be honest. Zion looked unstoppable against the Lakers. Unstoppable. The Lakers were going to win anyway because Zion was the only one that could have kept that trajectory for the whole series. But, man, if he hadn't got hurt, that outcome of that game might have been a little bit different. I think the Lakers still make the playoffs, but goodness, man. You know, speedy recovery to Zion. One of the most entertaining players to watch, Zion Williamson. Yes, sir. Malik Beasley, he left the Lakers, went to Detroit. He was supposed to be a shooter. Caleb Martin. Oh, no. This is the first time I'm seeing this one. Oh, man. Well, Caleb Martin from the Heat actually signed with the Sixers as well. So the Sixers basically looked at the landscape and said, hey, we need more shooters too. Tobias Harris was terrible. We need shooters. And they got one. Miles Bridges back on the Hornets, of course. Where else are you going to go after what he got charged with? Sorry, I'm looking at some of these in real time right now just to make sure I'm properly up to date on all of the free agent moves, being that I haven't covered it on the podcast really. I've been holding back to be able to do this on this podcast, so when sports start to happen, open floodgates. And I know I'm saying sports, but it's really mainly going to be basketball and football. Those are two things that I hold a passion about. I'm not going to talk much about boxing, UFC, hockey, baseball, track and field, tennis. I might cover those things a little bit, but not as much because I'm not as well versed in all of those things. As a aspiring sportscaster, I will do that. I will become more educated on those things, so I will be able to cover it and be able to have a longer show. I'm at 35 minutes now, but if I can have a longer show because I'm more well versed in sports, I might as well do that for myself. That's something that's only going to be lucrative for me in my future. So I'm working on that. But I don't think there's anything that's burning me up on the inside to be able to report about basketball. You know, LeBron signed his max contract for the next 2 years. Bronny's on the Lakers. I think Bronny's going to be a solid basketball player. Kemba Walker retired. We appreciate you and all your contributions and how entertaining you were playing basketball. You should have got more of an opportunity, but that's something that we are going to continue to say about a bunch of players, unfortunately. Let's see. Donovan Mitchell got his 3-year extension. Mo Bamba's going to the Clippers. Yeah. It's nothing here burning a hole in my chest for me to continue to report on. So that is the basketball recap. I know basketball is going on right now, and Team USA plays Brazil today. I'm projecting Team USA is probably going to win by 19 points again, 20 points. If you had to bet on it, the money line is 26.5. I don't think USA is covering that. Team USA has been proven to not cover spreads very well, especially in these Olympics. Serbia is playing Australia right now. It's a close game. Germany beat Greece. Goodness gracious. Germany is on a roll. I'll say this. Germany is the only team that scares me when it comes to playing against the United States. Franz Wagner he's been amazing every time I've seen him. Daniel Tice has been essential in a lot of spots. But Franz Wagner is the fact that Giannis in Greece could not beat Germany. I know we don't look at Franz as Giannis, but Team Germany is putting it together. They 4-0. And I anticipate the United States being 4-0 as well. But the gold medal game just very well might be Germany versus the United States. And that's a game that should probably scare some people. Mainly the United States, because Steve Kerr seems like he's been a little spotty with coaching. And these other teams are not here for a vacation like some people at Team USA are. They're here to really win gold. But we will track to the closing sport of today. The closing sport, that's still going to be another 30 minutes because we have to prepare for football season. Football season is among us, people. The grass is outside smelling fresh. Everyone's cutting their grass. Even though everybody was cutting grass all summer, the grass clippings smell different when you see helmets on the screen. When you hear that theme music and that dun 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 dun, when you hear that, you know it's football season in this NFL season. Of course, college football season is also among us. I'm not going to cover as much with college. I will keep my ears a lot more in the college game now. I know we just had a pretty good draft class, to be totally honest. I almost poo-pooed on the draft class in one of the pods, but the draft class that just passed was actually a pretty good draft class, especially for ratings purposes. Now, when it comes to translating to the NFL, don't know about that. But we still got Colorado. We still got Georgia being a powerhouse. Everyone's going to be curious to see what Alabama looks like now, especially without Nick Saban. We still got Oregon. You know what I mean? We still have some really, really, really solid football teams that are playing college football right now. And we're excited to see the parity that just exists within college football. It's absolutely incredible. College football is a totally different sport than the NFL, and it's one of the most amazing sports that we have because of the parity. But hopefully, of course, I'm hopeful for Colorado, not just because Deion, but I think Shador is going to be the next Cowboys quarterback. If I'm being totally honest with you, I think Shador is going to get drafted by the Cowboys because Dak, I don't think, is playing this year. So, okay. This year in football, Jaden Daniels is going to be starting. I know he was one of the top 3 draft picks. Jaden Daniels is going to be starting the preseason opener. So finally we get to see a rookie quarterback make a start, because I thought Caleb Williams was going to maybe get some minutes in the Hall of Fame game, maybe 2 drives, maybe 1 to 2 drives. They said no. No starters played in the Hall of Fame game. So it was basically a college and a semi-pro game. The new kickoff looks great. I'm a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it. So by default, I will be a fan of it, because I think that the NFL has received backlash and criticism unfairly for some of the rule changes that have happened recently. And with a lot of the rule changes, sorry, I think that's an airplane or a jet. But with a lot of the rule changes that have happened recently, the NFL has gotten a lot of flack just because people don't like change. If I'm being totally honest, that is why people give a lot of flack to a lot of these rule changes. People just don't like change. And then we compare things to basketball, which is never really a good comparison, because basketball change is not football change. Basketball change has compromised the game a little bit in what we see today. Football change has compromised the game, but it has allowed for more player safety, in which when we start thinking about all of these older generations, we think about the physicality and this, that, and the third. Listen, I'll be the first to tell y'all, if Aaron Donald was able to slap somebody up the head like Deacon Jones was, there would be a lot more injuries, a lot more concussions, and a lot more CTE running around. If LeBron James could throw elbows the way that the bad boy Pistons could at 6'8", 265 pounds, people are probably getting life-threatening injuries with how big, strong, and fast these people are today, because we all trained them to be that way. Y'all wanted the draft combine to look like when you're about to auction off slaves. That's what y'all wanted it to look like. So now breeding has happened, and when the breeding has happened, the training also happens, and when all of these things happen, we have these results. Everyone is bigger, stronger, and faster than before. And if they're not as big, best believe they're fast. These people 5'9", 5'10", running 4.3s consistently. A 4.4 is almost slow now. When Jesse Owens won the Olympics and set the record for the fastest time ran in 100, that time today was the slowest. The slowest time today was faster than Jesse Owens winning gold in the Olympics. And when Noah Lyles just won his race, yeah, the last place person ran faster than Jesse Owens in that race. So evolution is a thing. And with the rule changes and everything that goes on, unfortunately, we do have to acquiesce to revolution, because we can't keep making everybody bigger, stronger, and faster and expect the same game. Respectfully, Jamal Adams cannot do what Troy Polamalu did, because Troy Polamalu dang near killed someone at USC. So just imagine with somebody like Jamal Adams or Cam Chancellor and these guys. That's why Cam Chancellor couldn't play that long. And Cam Chancellor was one of the best safeties we done seen. We can't allow these people today to do what Sean Taylor was doing. We can't allow it. You're too fast, you're too big, you're too strong. You 6'3" playing corner? Excuse me? You're too big. But again, totally different topic, totally different subject. I approve of the rule change, is all I'm saying. At least this one. It's not as bad. I know the game has been a little pity-pat. You know what I mean? The game of football has been a little pity-pat as of recently, but we've still seen a lot of very unfortunate injuries to some really amazing players. Ryan Shazier being one of them. And we got to do something to encourage change. It's not going to fix the problem, but it can encourage. You know what I mean? It can encourage change is all. Brandon Ayuk, he demanded a trade. Probably, I would say the number one wide receiver for the 49ers. I know people are reluctant to put Deebo Samuels in that category because of his run contributions. I look at Deebo Samuels to be the number one option because he's the most aggressive runner of the football, and he's not the running back, and he's their strongest receiver. But as far as a traditional wide receiver, being able to run routes, getting in and out of your breaks, the best, being able to win matchups, utilizing his hand strength. I guess I would put him over Deebo Samuels as the number one receiver, but, you know, it has an asterisk behind it. And not to mention, I'm not saying that to diminish his skill. He is an amazing wide receiver. He demanded a trade, and the 49ers are open to trade him to the Patriots and the Browns, I guess is being reported. If he goes to the Browns, freaky man Watson, that's another excuse that you have to, if you have Amari Cooper and Brandon Ayuk, and I think they have Austin Hooper at tight, you have no excuses. With Nick Chubb at running back and that backup running back that I forgot his name, but he immediately started getting off as soon as Nick Chubb got hurt, and y'all still ended up finding yourselves in the playoffs with Joe Flacco, a freaky man. Get it together, especially if y'all get Brandon Ayuk. Now, if the Patriots get Brandon Ayuk, which is something that was projected a while ago, I'm still trying to figure out what they got. They got Drake May at quarterback. It doesn't look like he's doing very well in training camp. He's looking like Mac Jones 2.0. And if you understood what Mac Jones looked like with us, 2.0 looks like a GPA. If you know what the 2.0 GPA looks like on a report card, Patriots quarterback. Perfect. Patriots quarterback. That's what the 2.0 version is literally going to look like. And the Patriots can't afford, with the talent that they have or lack thereof, or being void of talent, they can't afford to have a C average quarterback. They can't afford to have that. And I know that I think it says he wanted to go to the Steelers, or the Steelers were interested. I think that would be interesting to see him pair up with George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth. I think that would be very interesting since Deontay Johnson left. I think that would be very interesting. Tyreek Hill redid his contract. The Chiefs just paid Harrison Butker, the Catholic misogynistic kicker that, you know, got his back kicked in on on social media. Of course, Jim Harbaugh is the coach of the Chargers now. He left Michigan to come to Los Angeles. If you listen to my podcast and you haven't heard about any of this, and this is the first time you're hearing this, yes, that did happen. Immediately after winning the national championship, he said he was going to consider it after further celebration and delegation. He ended up going to the Los Angeles Chargers to be Justin Herbert's coach, and then immediately cleaned the roster. Austin Eckler was already gone. He's in Washington. Keenan Allen is gone. I think Mike Williams. Oh, no, he left too. Mike Williams is gone. Yeah, they went bare bones, and I think Jim is looking to build that roster from the ground up. And I look forward to seeing what he's going to do over there, especially in the division with the Chiefs. The Raiders really got the you-know-what end of the stick, because I think the Raiders made leaps and bounds last year when it came to coaching and the talent in their roster. But they play in the division with the Chargers and the Chiefs. I don't look at the Broncos as much because I don't have any faith in Sean Payton's coaching. I'll say it now. I'm not a fan of his when it comes to coaching outside of having Drew Brees. So there's that. Let's see. Well, I'm just now seeing this. It looks like Jordan Addison of the Vikings got hit with a DUI. Goodness gracious, I don't know what it is with. Well, I guess there is a bit of a God complex amongst athletes, thinking that y'all can get away with anything because of how much money y'all make. These police officers and these sheriffs are all looking to make examples out of y'all as soon as y'all step, excuse my language, y'all black asses outside. I'm sorry. They are looking to make an example out of you guys as soon as you step outside. Let's try not to be a statistic, okay? let's please work on trying not to be a statistic. Now, I'll go out of the way and say, in the next whatever, I'll go out of my way and say I'm a Patriots fan. So the teams that I look forward to seeing, the Patriots are not on the list because I know we're about to probably go through a decade of being bad. But the Patriots are my team, just in case nobody's clear about that. The Patriots are my team. They've been my team since they signed Randy Moss, because Randy Moss was one of my favorite players when when I was actively watching football as a child. So the Patriots are my favorite team, but I can still be objective when it comes to sports. I'm not Skip Bayless. Shout out Skip Bayless, and I don't know what he has coming up in the future, but I know he's no longer at Fox Sports. He's no longer at FS1, and he's no longer on Undisputed. I don't know if Undisputed is still going to be a show, but he's no longer on it. Skip, hey man, if you need another partner in crime, hit me up. Hit me up for, I don't know, a 6-month deal or whatever. I'm willing to work on terms. Let's see. You know what? I can wing it a little bit. What I'm looking forward to the most with this football season is what everyone is anticipating to come true. Of course, football being that it's one game at a time, and it's only 17, it's about to be 18 games or 18 weeks. I'm looking forward to the parity. Or I'm not looking forward to the parity. I'm used to seeing the parity. The Chiefs were the Chiefs were probably arguably the worst team in the playoffs going into the playoffs. They win the Super Bowl, and they did the unlikely, which is win back-to-back championships. That's what parity is all about. Ironically, parity played in their favor to win back-to-back championships. It's crazy. Lamar Jackson being the MVP, finally, getting playoff wins after I think they had the bye. He can't get past the Chiefs. Josh Allen, the parody of the Bills going downhill. They fire their offensive coordinator, and then they go on this unreal run, and then they lose to Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. I get it. I get it. I get it. The parody ends up leading back to Patrick Mahomes winning again. But there are teams that I really would like to see shine. I really want to see Deshaun Freaky Man Watson be what we saw in Houston, but for Cleveland, because I want to see that team win. I want to see Russell Wilson or Justin Fields have a resurgence, or for Justin Fields it would be a coming out party, but for Russell Wilson, a resurgence to bring the Steelers back to the promised land, because when the Steelers are good, football is good. If we got to be totally honest, the Steelers are kind of like the Lakers and the Celtics of football. If they're good, the NFL is fun. If they're not good, the NFL is no fun. It's really no fun to watch. We here to watch the Chiefs, but we all expect the Chiefs to win. Nobody expects the 49ers to win. Nobody expected Aaron Rodgers to win, but when the Steelers were winning, it was a shock when they, and mind you, they've only won 2 Super Bowls in the past 2 decades. But when they were playing well, it was them and the Patriots that were the 2 superpowers, the 2 main superpowers. And football was good when the Steelers were good. The Patriots made football unbearable to watch. That's why so many people hate the Patriots. A lot of people hate the Steelers too, but they more so hate the Steelers fans rather than the football, because Steelers football is much more of a representation of what everyone viewed football to be. I'm looking forward to the teams that have some of the players that we look forward to seeing, like the Jets. I want to see the Jets be great. I want to see the Jets go 12-5 this year. I want to see the Jets in the AFC title game. I want to see that. I want to see Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes in the AFC title game, and Aaron Rodgers beat Patrick Mahomes to get back to a Super Bowl. He might win the Super Bowl and then retire. I want to see that. I really want to see that. Or shoot, Justin Fields and Aaron Rodgers in the AFC title game. Seeing Brock Purdy in the title game, seeing Jalen Hurts in the title game. Football is fun when the Eagles are good too, but it's not the same as the Steelers. Seeing those people in the title game, it doesn't have the same feel to it. It doesn't have the same fabric to it. You get what I'm saying? I honestly want to see the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC title game. The parity in them being really good and them always choking in the playoffs, it gets old after a while. You don't want to see it anymore after a while. It's terrible to watch. It's bad for TV. The Giants being bad. When the Giants are good, football is also fun. I'm not going to lie to you. When the Giants are proving everyone wrong in the 2 playoff runs that they did and beating the Patriots in those same 2 playoff runs, football was fun. Football was fun to follow. The New York Football Giants, it's not the football Jets, it's the football Giants. Football is fun when these when these teams of a certain level of prestige win. I would like to see Josh Allen get a Super Bowl. Of course, everybody can't win a Super Bowl at one time. Four starting quarterbacks can't win a Super Bowl in 2 years. I get it. I understand. But just certain teams being good. I don't want to. Unfortunately, injury is a real thing, and I think injury is going to play a huge factor in who wins the Super Bowl this year. I kind of think Patrick Mahomes is going to get injured this year. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of think that that's going to happen just because that seems to be on the docket of anticipated people. Aaron Rodgers was easily the most anticipated quarterback to watch last year. He tears his Achilles in 4 plays. Tom Brady, I think the year that lineman or linebacker ran into his knee and tore his ACL, everyone was anticipating what they would look like. I think that was a year after they won the Super Bowl. Everyone was anticipating how they would look, whether they could do a back-to-back again. And guess what? Torn ACL, he's gone. Deshaun Watson, everyone's waiting to see what he's going to do. He can't stop getting injured. It's unfortunate, but I do think injury is going to play a huge point in this season and is going to allow more room for parity. There are teams that I think that are going to be good, that should be good, like the Texans. I think they should be very good this upcoming season, as well as teams that may not be very good that I could see being good, like the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers lost a lot of pieces, and I could still see them making a playoff push because the Falcons could disappoint. The Falcons could very much so be one of the biggest disappointments in the league. I don't know what happened to make everyone give the Falcons so much hope, to have them 11-6 or 12-5 or even 10-7. I don't see that for the Falcons. I know Kirk Cousins is there to steady the ship, but if you look at what he's done in Minnesota, he had Justin Jefferson, and he still couldn't close the deal with Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. If you know anything about Dalvin Cook, nothing, what's understood don't need to be spoken. He has Bijan Robinson, Kyle Pitts, and Drake London. I understand bringing young talent anywhere around a savvy veteran quarterback is always ideal, but you'd rather have a young quarterback around great wide receivers. You'd just rather have that because it would kind of help the development of the quarterback. Now what's going to happen is when Kirk is bad, or if Kirk gets hurt again because he tore his Achilles, everyone kind of, poo-poos at that. He tore his Achilles. So if he ends up getting injured again, what is your plan B? Now the rhythm that the wide receivers might get with Kirk, they're not going to have with that backup quarterback. The way that they run their routes. If I want you to run this 10-yard curl really at 11 to 12, or if I want you to run it at 9 or 8, I want you to curl at 11 so that way you can come back to 9. I know it's a 10-yard curl, but I really want you to overshoot it so you can come back pretty close to the 10. When you start thinking about things like that, when you run this post, I really want you to cut more to the sideline than to the end zone. When you have that rapport with your receivers, all of that, even in how you throw screen passes, it's all messed up now. Hey, I want the ball right here, so when I tuck it, I can just go straight up the field. Or I want you to throw the ball in a pocket close to my chest so I can tuck it in the ribs a lot faster. All of that is thrown off now. You got a quarterback who wants to put it in the hands of the wide receiver, so I'm gonna throw it out to the side. Now I gotta reach back, or I gotta reach forward and snatch the ball. So I gotta focus on the ball and take my eyes too long off of the play that's ahead of me, because hand-eye coordination in football is absolutely unreal. Those guys are superheroes when it comes to hand-eye coordination. Taking away those small, minute things, those, goodness gracious, I can't believe I forgot the word for that. When you take away those things, those intangibles, there we go. When you take away those intangibles, you have now created a gap where the intangibles are and plugged in room for error. And it's very small. You have a very small window to be able to make these errors in the game, but you open up more room for where error can fill in because of the lack thereof dynamic between those two individuals. And I think it's more likely to happen when you have young talent with when you have developing talent around an older quarterback, then vice versa. Younger quarterback with the older wide receivers. The wide receivers tell the quarterback what they want. As a quarterback, you're dictating what the wide receivers like when you're an older quarterback with younger wide receivers. Of course, he's going to ask him, where do you want me to put the ball? This, that, and the third. After a while, he's going to start telling you, hey, I'm going to put the ball right here. Go that. He's going to start telling, because that is what a leader does. And the quarterbacks are typically leaders of the football, of the offense mainly. Quarterbacks are leaders of the offense. That's my tangent on the Falcons, because everyone's acting like Kirk Cousins is going to be MVP Matt Ryan for some reason. I just don't see it. Let's see. Okay, I didn't realize we were at an hour in time. I'm sorry, I had to double check that. What other teams? I'm looking forward to the Bengals. I'm looking forward to seeing Joe Burrow be great. Not be good, be great. When he came out, you could ask people around me, you guys, my family. I projected him to be the new Peyton Manning, but with legs. I know everyone says he's cool and calm under pressure. He reminds you of Tom Brady. He reminds me nothing of Tom Brady, because Tom had a different fire and work ethic about him that I'm not going to disrespect his name and compare anybody else to him. I think we should know that by now. He himself has more Super Bowl wins than any NFL franchise. I'm no longer disrespecting that man by comparing other quarterbacks to him, Patrick included. Patrick is amazing. Tom Brady comparisons, no. Tom Brady did more with less gifts than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is easily the most gifted or the second most gifted quarterback to ever play football. First most gifted, I can give that to Aaron Rodgers. You can debate that. But just flat out work ethic and doing more with less. And Tom Brady never had a Tyreek Hill. In his defense, he did have a Travis Kelce with Gronk. But Gronk's injury history didn't allow, Gronk's injury history didn't allow that. And then he did it before Gronk and then did it with Gronk and even did it without Gronk. That Super Bowl that they won against LA, Gronk was there, but then the Super Bowl that they won against Seattle, Gronk was not playing. And that was Legion of Boom, Seattle. Gronk was not playing in that Super Bowl, but he got a ring. You know what I mean? And I think he was injured in another Super Bowl. It might have been the Eagles Super Bowl. He might have been injured. Maybe. I'm not sure. Okay. Who else am I looking forward to? I'm looking forward to the Bears this year. I'm looking forward to seeing Caleb Williams synchronize himself with Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, and Mike. Is it Mike? No, it's not Mike Williams. DJ Moore. Sorry about that. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm looking forward to seeing the Rams this year. I want to see if Kyler Murray is still developing with the Cardinals. I want to see that. Carolina, I'm not really looking forward to Bryce Young that much. Green Bay, I'm kind of looking forward to Jordan Love. Seeing what I'm really going to look forward to is to see how they're going to utilize Josh Jacobs. The Raiders should not have let Josh Jacobs walk out of that door. With Devontae Adams on that team, they should not have let Josh Jacobs walk out of that door. Huge mistake on their behalf. But whatever. I'll close out the show with my division predictions. I know I bet on my division predictions on FanDuel. Hey, FanDuel, DraftKings, Prize Picks, Underdog. I'm your guy. I'm your guy. Hit me up for a sponsorship, something. Hey, I'm your guy. Brought to you by, I do that real well. Let's talk. Let's negotiate. Let's see where I want to start. I'm gonna start with the NFC because I'm not really looking forward to as much NFC football. But I will start with the NFC. I'll say my first and last place finishers for each division in each conference. I'm gonna have some shockers up here too. I'll start with the NFC North. For the NFC North, I think Detroit is going to win this division. And I think Minnesota is going to finish last. But here's the kicker. I think they're going to have 3 people from their division make the playoffs. I do think Chicago is going to make the playoffs. And I do think Green Bay is also going to make the playoffs. Green Bay is going to be more on the fringe than I would like to admit. I think Matt LaFleur is a great coach. But I do think with Caleb on the rise, they don't have as much film on him to figure out what he's going to do with Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, DJ Moore, as well as DeAndre Swift coming out of the backfield. A lot of teams are really going to have their hands full with that team. And they're a defensive team more so than anything. So they're going to have their hands full with this team if Caleb Williams can stay healthy and Keenan Allen and Rome Odunze and DJ Moore and DeAndre Swift can all stay healthy throughout the year. They're going to have their hands full with the Chicago Bears in that division. But I do have Detroit winning that division. Detroit has gotten better on a lot of fronts. And Jared Goff is a really, really, really good quarterback. Top 10 quarterback in the league, if you ask me. I have Detroit winning that division, the NFC North. Minnesota being last in that division, unfortunately, just due to the falling apart of that team. Sorry, Justin Jefferson. Sorry, Jordan Addison. I love y'all as wide receivers, but if y'all don't have nobody to throw to y'all, it is what it is, man. The NFC South, the most atrocious division. I could see Tampa Bay winning the division again just because Baker Mayfield is starting to establish himself in that locker room. They still got Mike Evans. They still got Chris Godwin. They need a running game really badly. And Todd Bowles, even though Devin White is on the Eagles now, and I think Shaq Barrett retired, Todd Bowles will not allow his team to have a terrible defense. Defense might make a few mistakes here and there because of talent, but Todd Bowles is an amazing defensive coach, one of the greatest defensive coaches we have had in this league. I could see them winning the division, but I'll go with the hype train of Atlanta winning the division. I still think it's going to be a 9-8 type of season for the division winner. I got New Orleans finishing last. I don't trust Dennis Allen, even though I do trust the talent on that team. I do trust their wide receiver core with. I'm not sure if Michael Thomas is going to be healthy this year. Rashid, I think Shaheed is his name. Yeah, I think Shaheed. That might be his name. If you know, you know. He's a burner, and he's a really good wide receiver. Alvin Kamara is still there. I think they still got Jamal Williams over there. They still got a really solid defense. But unfortunately, I just don't trust Dennis Allen as a coach. And their performances are very spotty. They win games they're not supposed to win, and they'll lose games they're not supposed to lose. To me, it's going to be tight-knit. But New Orleans and Carolina will be fighting for last place. That's how I'm looking at it. NFC West. You know what? No, I'll go NFC East. I have a shocker in the NFC West. NFC East, I think Philly's going to win the division. I got the Giants finishing the division last. The Giants have made a lot of good moves, but they got Daniel Jones at quarterback. I could see Washington finishing last, but because they're still developing, they still got Terry McLaurin. They drafted Jaden Daniels, Brian Robinson Jr. still the running back. I think Logan Thomas is still there as a tight end. They have a solid team, but just not good enough to do anything beyond being a solid team, a good team. I see them having a 7-9, 8. Goodness gracious, I see them having a 17? A 9-8. There we go, a 9-8 or 7-10 record on the year. I see them having that, and the Giants are not too far off from that either. The Giants are really bad when they're bad. And when they have Daniel Jones and he's playing decently, they look decent. You know, they look decent, and they've made a lot of moves. Them and the Titans are very sneaky for how many moves that they've made to try to solidify their rosters. But I do have Philly winning, Dallas coming in second. But I wouldn't be surprised if Dallas didn't do so hot this year. They don't have a running back. I know Zeke came back. They got Rico Dowdle. I don't have faith in Dallas this year. Their defense is going to be good, same way it usually is. Can't stop the run game, though. They look amazing when you can't pass on them. But if you got a run game, you could do whatever you want with Dallas. Dak, they have too many internal issues that I think is going to leak onto the field, even though Mike McCarthy is a solid regular season coach. It's just not going to translate that well in the playoffs, unfortunately, especially with this more than likely being Dak's last year. So I could see them actually having somewhat of a tank kind of looking season where they look like they might be tanking a little bit. And Washington and New York might be more competitive within the division than outside the division. But I still got New York and Washington fighting for last place. I'll say the Giants will finish last. There we go. I'll say it. I'm sorry. NFC East, Philly winning, Giants last. In the NFC West, I have the Rams winning this division. Yes, over the 49ers. I do. They look like they could have. Goodness gracious, I forgot what it was. It was. Wow, I can't believe I can't remember what they used to call them in the early 2000s with Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce and Kurt Warner. The best show on turf. There we go. They have that kind of offense this year. They have Matthew Stafford, one of the most talented quarterbacks ever played in the league, who is not in his prime anymore, but he can still spin the ball unlike a lot of other quarterbacks, 95% of other quarterbacks. They have Cooper Kupp. And if he's not who y'all think he is, they got Puka Nacua. And if he's not who y'all think he is, they have Cooper Kupp. They have 2 number 1 wide receivers. After Cooper Kupp got injured, Puka Nacua ran with that torch, unlike anybody ever anticipated him being able to do. And I think they still got Tyler Higbee at tight end, if I'm not mistaken. I can double check that. But their roster, offensively, defensively, they're going to have some gaps in the hole since Aaron Donald is gone. But what they did do was make sure, yeah, they still do have Tyler Higbee at tight end. I mean, Demarcus Robinson at wide receiver. They got Tyler Johnson at wide receiver. That was actually a really good pickup. That was a very solid pickup. And Kyron Williams, Boston Scott, huge pickup. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's looking like greatest show on turf. And Jimmy G as a backup quarterback, I did not know that until just now. Jimmy G is not getting no playing time. But if Jimmy G ends up bringing Orr because Matthew Stafford gets hurt and he ends up doing what he did early in the 49ers, this team could still be a force to be reckoned with deep in the playoffs. So I honestly I think the 49ers are going to have a drop-off, a lack of identity, as well as other means of turmoil going on. I don't think Brandon Ayuk is going to start the season with them. So Brock Purdy is going to have to get used to that. Brock Purdy may be having a little bit of a down year this year. They're going to be force-feeding Christian McCaffrey. I don't think Christian McCaffrey is going to finish the season healthy because the majority of touches and of carries that he gets, or the majority of the touches and carries on the team goes to him. He's going to be top 3 or top 4 in receptions. Mind you, they have George Kittle, probably the best overall tight end in the league today. He's way too slept on. To me, he's better than Travis Kelce because he has hands. He can run he has hands. He's faster. He's stronger, and he blocks a lot better. He is an asset in any level of offense that you put him in. So they got George Kittle. They got Deebo Samuel. They had Brandon Ayuk, and they got Christian McCaffrey. And even the other wide receivers aren't that bad either. But again, Brock Purdy, I think he's a solid quarterback. I think he's probably top 15, top 16, and I'm putting him at 15 or 16 quarterbacks in the league. But they're so well coached. You know what I mean? They're so well coached. He could play like a top 5 quarterback because they're that well coached. And I think he will enter the top 10 category maybe after this year, but I got the 49ers finishing second in that division. I got the Rams finishing first, and we are going to see another rendition of the greatest show on turf with that team. Hot take from me. And I have the Seahawks finishing last in that division. Y'all are not going to get the best out of Geno Smith because y'all don't have Pete Carroll anymore. Y'all disrespected Pete Carroll by pushing him out the building. They're not going to be the same. They're not going to be this. They might as well go ahead and throw in those retro jerseys that they had in the early 2000s when they was bad. Before Sean Alexander. Yeah, y'all might as well go ahead and throw in them jerseys because that's how y'all going to look again. The Seahawks are not going to look good. The Cardinals are going to be a very interesting team this year. I will say that. They have a chance to fight for the second spot as well. Because what Kyler Murray does great, it's very hard for teams to prepare for. His only problem is he got to stay focused and he got to stay healthy. That's his only problem. Okay. To the AFC. And I'll recap all the winners that I had in each division at the end of this. AFC West, I got Kansas City winning the division. I don't think it's going to be that close either. I don't think LA is there yet. I think LA is going to need I think LA is going to need a bridge year. They're going to need a bridge year, and I think this year is going to be that bridge year. I think next year they will have some traction and they'll start competing with Kansas City to win the division. But as of right now, I got Kansas City. Shock here. I got Vegas being second in that division. I understand we don't know who Aiden O'Connell is, and we don't trust him as the quarterback. But one thing's for sure, he was better than Jimmy G. And they beat the Chiefs with him at quarterback, even though he didn't do anything in the second half. He didn't complete not one pass in the second half. It is what it is. If you can beat that team, and that team wasn't as good last year, I understand. But if you can do that and play all of the teams in your division close, you have a chance outside of that. They arguably had one of the worst defensive games all time in Raider history, I think it was, just for them to turn around and have arguably the best offensive game in Raider history the next week. You know what I mean? So this team is still trying to find its identity, but I think they found it with that coach. Shout out to Antonio Pierce. I think you're going to do great things with the Raiders. But I got Denver finishing last in the division. I do not trust Sean Payton. You got rid of the only decent quarterback that you had to try to put your guy in. You're probably going to be fired over the next couple of years, my boy. Yeah, I anticipate Sean Payton getting fired over the next couple of years. Maybe this year if they do bad enough. But the way that he acted last season, I don't like people like him in power at any position. He needs to go back to sports. He needs to go back to sports casting and commentary. This game right here, no, you haven't been fit for it, and you haven't been fit for it in a while. You won one Super Bowl with one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever live. I'm not going to put you in the Bill Belichick, and you're still in the category with Sean McVay, unfortunately. And I know your greatness lasts over a longer period of time, but I don't care. I honestly don't care. You have accomplished just as much as these other coaches who have only won one ring. You don't deserve to be in the Andy Reid and Bill Belichick and Mike Tomlin category. You don't deserve. Maybe Mike Tomlin, because Mike Tomlin has one ring, but you don't deserve to be in the greatest of all time coaching category. Regular season wins, great. You are the Dallas Cowboys of head coaches. And I have you finishing last in this division. If you prove me wrong, I got to pay you respect, because y'all's team roster-wise looks terrible. Abhorrently disgusting is what you guys' roster looks like this year. If you finish anything close, if you finish second in the division, respect. And I'll come in and give you your flowers. You're not going to do nothing after that, but I'll give you your flowers for that feat alone. Matter of fact, I'll say it now, you might want to go ahead and coach Alabama. Just go ahead and take Nick Saban's spot. You'll fit right in over there. Sorry. I got Kansas City winning the division. I got Denver finishing last. AFC South. I have Houston winning the division, and I have Jacksonville finishing last in this division. Woo! That's a mouthful. I know that's a lot. There's a lot, but I think Tennessee has made so many moves that nobody cares about, but they've made so many great moves. I know they lost Derrick Henry, but they opened up their roster in so many different spots. And I know they got rid of, it wasn't Teddy Bruschi. Goodness gracious, I can't believe I forgot the coach's name. He was a New England Patriots running back. Not running back, linebacker. Well, regardless, they got rid of him as a coach, so I know there's also a gap in that. But I do think Mike Vrabel is his name. That just came to my head. Okay, Mike Vrabel is his name. They got rid of Vrabel. They brought in somebody else. But I do think that team, with the quarterback that they have, because I thought that rookie last year did a really good job. I don't remember his name, but he did a pretty solid job, and nobody expected him to, because nobody expected much from the Titans. And I think that's the best position to be in football. When nobody expects that much from you, it creates leeway for you to do more and to shine in your position, because when you in that position of nobody expecting you to do much, you are always a pleasant surprise. You're never going to be a disappointment. So I got Houston winning the division. I think it's going to be a fight. It's going to be a close fight of second between Tennessee and Indianapolis. Don't be surprised if Indianapolis sneaks into the wild card. Don't be surprised. Anthony Richardson is a very decent asset to have at the quarterback position. But yeah, Houston first, Jacksonville last. Sorry, I know Trevor Lawrence has got his extension. I don't see any real growth for me to project them to be first in the division. I see them digressing every year. I see them regressing every year. Let's see. AFC. Let's go AFC East. AFC East. Sorry, guys. I got the Patriots finishing last in that division. But third place, I got the Dolphins. Not because I don't think they're an amazing team, but I think, you know what? Yeah, I'll say the Dolphins. Coaching-wise, they still seem a little immature. As a whole team, and I think they have so much flash to them that it leaves so much room for imagination in other areas. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, the two fastest receivers in the league, arguably on the same team, with the fastest running backs in the league, Achane and Matt Breida. I'm not even sure if they're still on the team. Excuse me. But for them to be on the team, yeah, they got a lot of firepower on offense, but defense, you got some gaps. When Jalen Ramsey started playing again, that defense was top tier. The problem is, if you need that type of anchor for your defense to even be good, because their defense was, I don't want to say terrible, because when you have a great offense, your great offense can be a defense. But their defense at a lot of times couldn't stop a running nose with a case of tissues, not a box, a whole case. And that's unfortunate. And you only do this against teams that aren't playoff teams for the most part. You might win one game against a playoff team, and maybe a technical playoff team, which a team that might have started off the year terrible and was getting their feet together and then maybe making a push for the wild card later. But any teams that matter, they can't beat them. Meanwhile, you got teams like the Bills, who should probably finish third this year. If they finish third, I wouldn't be surprised. Teams like the Bills, who are rebuilding, but have a toughness about them that won't allow them, in their pride, will not allow them to finish any lower than second in that division. And I actually have the Jets winning this division next year. Call me crazy, I know. I don't think the Bills are going to start the year off very well because they're going to be figuring things out. I think they're going to fight their way into the playoffs by being the second seed in the division. And I think the Jets are going to create a higher level of separation in the first half of the season than anyone will give them credit for. If they start off a little rough, I wouldn't be surprised. I think they got the 49ers as the first game of the year. I don't really anticipate them losing that game that bad if they do lose that game. They have one of the best defenses in the league at every level. They also have a very good offense. I know they got Mike Williams. I know he's injury prone. But you got Breece Hall, who is one of the best running backs in the league. Even though he wasn't healthy, he's still one of the best running backs in the league. He's a person who, at any point in time he touches the ball, he can go for 30 plus in one carry at any point in time. Garrett Wilson is young Devontae Adams, one of the best route runners that we have in the game today. And I think they're going to have more weapons that are interested in coming there. They need a solid tight end. That's really one thing that I know that they need, a real solid tight end that can block and can catch. They don't need a George Kittle. I think they could get away with having a Freiermuth type, Austin Hooper type. I think they could get away with that. Tight ends that have receiver hands, but can give you a good enough chip block to create more open running lanes for Breece Hall to run through. And Aaron Rodgers is going to take so much pressure off of Breece Hall. He's going to take so much pressure off of Garrett Wilson, just Aaron Rodgers himself. I don't anticipate him being hurt this year. I honestly don't. That Achilles injury was a freak injury for a bad offensive line. I don't think their offensive line is going to be that terrible this year. I got the Jets winning that division. I got the Bills coming in second. I got the Dolphins coming in third, and I got the Patriots being last. I know I was saying I was going to do first and last, but that division, a little controversial. The AFC North, I have to do all four. Last place. This is going to be the toughest one because this is one of those divisions where all of the teams in the division can finish 500 and above. Goodness gracious. I may have the Ravens winning this division again because Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson is undeniable. I don't care how you slice it, how you put it. Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson is going to make a 60-minute game with 15-minute quarters feel like a 120-minute game with 30-minute quarters. They're going to bring back that long, dragged-out style of football because they're going to be dynamic runners, but that is going to be a very powerful running football team. So, barring injury, of course, because we all know their running back injury history. If you don't know it, they, in the last maybe 4 to 5 seasons, since Lamar Jackson has been there, they have not finished their season with their starting running back. They have not finished their season with a starting running back that started in week 1. They have not. I don't think they have at all, actually. They've had really good running backs, J.K. Dobbins and so on and so forth. They've had really good running backs, but they have not finished a regular season with the running back that they started with in week 1. It's been injuries galore. And even Lamar Jackson has been injured before. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. But I might have the Ravens finishing first. In close second, I got the Bengals. And they're going to be in an absolute brawl with Cleveland and Pittsburgh. Now, mind you, the lowest record I have in this division is 9-8. That is the lowest record that I have in this division. And I think that's going to be between Cleveland and Pittsburgh. They're going to be fighting for those. Here's the extra kicker. 3 teams from this division are probably going to make the playoffs. Yes, 3 teams. Now that they got 7 spots, I could see the division winner and 2 AFC North teams, along with, I think with an AFC West team and 2 AFC South teams. I don't think anybody else from the AFC West is going to make the playoffs. No, I don't have Jim Harbaugh making the playoffs in this first year. I don't have anybody past the Jets, or I don't see anybody past the AFC East making the playoffs. That might be the only one because the Bills might sneak into the playoffs at the last minute. The Dolphins might sneak into the playoffs at the last minute, whoever. But this AFC North division is very tough. And whether Justin Fields or Russell Wilson starts the year, they're going to finish the year 9-8 or 10-7. This team is that tough to be able to do so. Are they as skillful as the other? Are they as skilled as every other position? No, they could very well finish last in the division because of how much skill they've lost. They lost Deontay Johnson. They've lost offensive linemen. I mean, George Pickens is out there on the island by himself right now, basically. So, yeah, you got Najee Harris and you got Jalen Warren with Justin Fields and Russell Wilson at quarterback, but that doesn't really say much. But because I trust Mike Tomlin, that team could finish 3rd in that division and still end up in the playoffs. They still are going to end up fighting for the playoffs later in the year, especially with a decent quarterback, which they do have. So I have the Ravens winning the division and fighting for playoff spots in last place, Cleveland and Pittsburgh for sure. So I'll just go ahead and say Pittsburgh last because I think Cleveland just has too much. Cleveland just has too much talent, but they're not as well coached as Pittsburgh. And it don't matter how much talent you got. Hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard. Shout out Kevin Durant. I'll go through it again. For the NFC, Eagles first place, Giants last place. For the NFC East, NFC North, Detroit first place, Minnesota last place. NFC South, Atlanta first place, New Orleans or Carolina. I'll say Carolina last place. NFC West, the Rams first place, Seattle last place. For the AFC South, Houston first, Jacksonville last. AFC West, Kansas City first, Denver last. AFC East, the Jets first, the Patriots last. Sorry, y'all. And for the AFC North, Baltimore first, Pittsburgh last. But 3 teams from that division can make the playoffs, for sure. Now, I also wouldn't be surprised if Joe Burrow gets hurt again and the Bengals finish last. And my Super Bowl prediction, I'll say it now since preseason is about to start. For the AFC title game, I don't think the Chiefs are going to make the AFC title game. I know. I'm crazy. I think this year's title game is going to be a little peculiar. I'm going to go with Baltimore and the Jets in the title game, because Aaron Rodgers is good at making conference championship games. I don't know about anything else past that, but I could see Baltimore and Cincinnati, or Baltimore and Cleveland being in the title game, because Cleveland did make the playoffs last year. But I could see Baltimore and Cincinnati, or Baltimore and the Jets. But I'll say Baltimore and the Jets, because I'll be the contrarian. I'll be the person that says the opposite, because I know everyone's going to have Kansas City. Baltimore and the Jets in the AFC title game. And then the NFC title game, the Rams and the Detroit Lions. You know what? No. I'm going to say Saquon Barkley is going to make a huge difference, and Devin White on that defense. Give me the Los Angeles Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles for the NFC title game. On one side, the New York Jets and the Baltimore Ravens versus the Los Angeles Rams and the Philadelphia Eagles for the AFC and NFC title games. And for each of those games, I have the Rams winning. I know. I got the Rams winning over the Eagles just because of the firepower on the offense. I don't trust Philly's defense. I do think Philly has the team to be able to win a Super Bowl this year, but I don't trust their defense. The Rams, I trust their offense more than I trust Philly's defense. Because Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, yeah, they got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but Matthew Stafford versus Jalen Hurts, yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I'll say the Rams, and I'll say the Ravens. Only because I think the Ravens have the ability to do to Aaron Rodgers what the 49ers were doing to him when he was in the NFC. So I'll say the Ravens and the Rams in the Super Bowl. And I don't know who's going to win that matchup. You're going to have to see me in December. So I know that's crazy. I know that sounds wild, and it sounds like I don't know football. But my guess on parity, along with statistics and along with skill and all of those things, Ravens and Rams Super Bowl, the Double R Super Bowl, Los Angeles versus Baltimore, real East, real West, real 2 U's and avenues versus what up, homie? Yeah, it's gonna be one of those, and I think it's going to be a much more entertaining option for a Super Bowl than we anticipated. It's gonna be like what we hoped for with Baltimore and Detroit last year. I think this is going to be a very entertaining Super Bowl, regardless of who makes it. But those are my predictions for the divisions, for the conferences, and for the Super Bowl. If you beg to differ, comment below, because I will be posting this on YouTube as well. Comment below, or you can text me, DM me, call me crazy, whatever you want to do. Just let me know that you're listening. Let me know that you're enjoying it. I've been your host, Kelvin Ruff Jr. Don't forget the Junior. They say talk is cheap, but here we try to keep it rough. Thank y'all for tuning in. We're going to see y'all next episode.